The Thames Path, Part 4, 185 miles from the source to the Woolwich Tunnel in 15 days in August and September 2022. Part 4, Chertsey to the Woolwich Foot Tunnel, 62.9 miles. I had to abort my final 4 days on the trail after 2 days when I reached Hammersmith due to the death of the Queen and the massive queue that was forming along the south bank of the Thames, right on my path. I continued with the final 2 days from Hammersmith to the Thames barrier after her funeral. By the time I reached the London stages, I had started wearing my compression socks and using kinesiology tape on my lower legs due to the constant pounding at speed on hard tarmac surfaces. They and my amazing Ultra shoes were brilliant, and I survived relatively unscathed to walk another day. Day 12, Chertsey to Kingston upon Thames, 14.9 miles. Chertsey to Shepperton. The Shepperton to Weybridge Ferry. One alternative option on the Thames Path, but not one for me because I was off to a very early start and passed by several hours before it opened. St Nicholas's Church, Shepperton. I would have missed this if I'd taken the ferry option. The King's Head, Shepperton. Platts Eyot, Molesey. Flowers for the Queen outside Hampton Court Palace. Hampton Court Palace. Hampton Court. Approaching Kingston upon Thames. The White Hart Hotel in Hampton Wick, a former haunt in my wild hippie days when I lived in the area. Day 13, Kingston upon Thames to Hammersmith, 17.1 miles. Canbury Gardens, Kingston upon Thames, where we once lost Alex at a festival when he was very young. He had wandered off into the crowds, and we were frantic with worry until we saw a policeman approaching with Alex holding his hand. Teddington Lock and the point at which the Thames becomes tidal. Approaching Richmond with Richmond Hill in the background. Richmond Bridge. I had a delicious ice cream here and spent ages chatting to 2 Canadians who had travelled and walked all over the world. Totally inspirational. Mortlake. I stopped when I reached this point because something felt rather special here. I then noticed a plaque on the wall behind me and was bowled over with excitement. This is what was on the plaque. I then understood why I had felt compelled to stop. John Dee was actually a witch, and it's amazing to think that he was also an advisor to the first Queen Elizabeth. I once read a biography about him and found it absolutely fascinating. John Dee is buried under the floor in the Church of St Mary the Virgin in Mortlake, in front of the first altar in this photo. Church of St Mary the Virgin, Mortlake. The lovely Gothic atmosphere was electric here, and I spent ages sitting on a bench just soaking it up. Day 14, Hammersmith to London Bridge, 14 miles. leaving Hammersmith Bridge very early in the morning on the day after the Queen's funeral. Craven Cottage, the home of Fulham Football Club. Houses in Wandsworth. Albert Bridge between Battersea and Chelsea. The Peace Pagoda in Battersea Park with Albert Bridge in the background. The iconic Battersea Power Station, which was being converted into shops and offices when I was walking the Thames path. Oh yummy! Another brilliant coffee at Battersea Power Station to put a spring in my step. Riverside Seats, Battersea Power Station. Father Thames mural by Stephen Duncan in 9 Elms with the American Embassy in the background. Approaching Vauxhall Bridge and Westminster. This is where the queue was for viewing the Queen's lying in state just before Lambeth Bridge. The morning after, there was absolutely no sign that there had ever been a queue there. Lambeth Palace, the London home of the Archbishop of Canterbury. The BSE Covid wall between Lambeth and Westminster bridges. The Houses of Parliament. The London Eye on the South Bank, looking towards Blackfriars Bridge and St Paul's Cathedral. The Millennium Bridge. Reconstruction of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Day 15, London Bridge to the Thames Barrier and Woolwich, 16.9 miles. Leaving London Bridge at 7 a.m. Early morning coffee by HMS Belfast and Tower Bridge. Hayes Galleria. Tower Bridge and the Tower of London. View of the city. A wharf in Bermondsey. An alley in Rotherhithe and the Mayflower pub in Rotherhithe. A street in Rotherhithe with Canary Wharf in the background. Canary Wharf looming large. The Blacksmith's Arms, Rotherhithe. Surrey Docks Farm, Rotherhithe. The Curlicue statue by William Pye in Deptford. Hydraulic capstan, Deptford. Swing Bridge, Greenland Dock in Deptford. View towards Greenwich from Deptford. The Dog and Bell pub in Deptford. The Isle of Dogs seen from Greenwich. The Cutty Sark at Greenwich. Greenwich Market, which was a bit of a disappointment, but there were some brilliant food stalls there, and I had a delicious Turkish gozleme with a mushroom and courgette filling for my lunch. The former Royal Naval College at Greenwich. The Isle of Dogs and the Millennium Dome. Canary Wharf from the O2 Arena. The O2 Arena. Super scary cable cars crossing the Thames. You have to be mad to do that. Never in a million years. First sighting of the Thames Barrier and the end of my journey. The Thames Barrier. As I was racing for the finish line, I met another kindred spirit who told me that he had just been mountain climbing. I can't see many mountains around here, I said. So he explained that there was an indoor rock wall nearby which he practiced on. It turned out that he was also a keen walker who, like me, has walked many of Britain's trails. The Thames Barrier. Looking back towards the city from the Thames Barrier. Yay, the end of my journey at the Thames Barrier. Well, almost. Because although the former official end of the Thames Path National Trail was at the Thames Barrier, it has now been extended another mile to the Woolwich Ferry, where it meets the New England Coast Path. Looking back here at the Thames Barrier from Woolwich, the new end is a huge disappointment because there are no monuments or welcoming committees there to greet you after completing your marathon walk. There was also a lot of construction work taking place, and the trail had been diverted to confuse the issue. I chatted to a man in the ferry booth, and he had absolutely no idea about the significance of the end of the trail. I think he thought I was a nutter, but he was very kind and tried to humour me. The Woolwich Ferry. Signpost marking the Thames Path and the New England Coast Path at Woolwich. This is where the lift down to the Woolwich Foot Tunnel under the Thames is located. I had a look and decided that there was no way I was going to descend into the Stygian, urine-drenched depths in that lift. At the end of my journey, I had mixed feelings of elation and sadness. Elation because I had completed the trail, my penultimate national trail in England and Wales, but sadness because I was going to miss my river. Lessons learnt. The source of the Thames has been dry for many years. Walking on a hard flat surface for 185 miles takes its toll on one's feet and lower legs. I was surprised to discover that London is much leafier and more wooded than I had ever imagined, at least along the southern bank of the river. Otters eluded me once again. I really thought that I might finally see my first otter along the upper reaches of the Thames, prime territory by all accounts, but no. The little rotters continued to maintain a non-existent profile. Note: otters were widely distributed in Britain until the end of the 1950s, when their populations were decimated by the use of organochlorine pesticides. After these were banned in the 1990s, there was a dramatic increase in numbers as they started to return to Britain's waterways. The Upper Thames Valley was no exception, and they have been spreading steadily eastwards ever since. Naked rambling is a thing.